Hello, welcome back. I'm going to continue to talk about the book King Paimon, Lord of the Endless Silence, the Lord of the Abyss, which is a book, a grimoire that I have written. I'm the author of the book, Anais Giulia, and this is a recording from a playlist where I talk about the book or different elements, and there has been a few exercises now. We try to remember the exercise with the mirrors or with the door or other things that were interesting, and somehow one can make like a mental exercise and imagine different things now through the mirror or through glass or through, as I said, any surface that is shiny. It doesn't matter if it's black. Last time or some of the last recordings we spoke, if the surface is black or it's dark, if it's shiny, in general it does carry a reflection. So there's different parts of the mirror that has reflection. To say the entire mirror is a reflection. Mirrors are reflections, and there was the exercise with one mirror, different ones for different thematics, or what was the thematic in that recording. At the same time, the focus is always on the book, on King Paimon. And as I've said, the book is a grimoire. It has 745 pages. It is a longer book, a larger book, but it is very, very interesting. And it is written in a hymn form. And it is, it's almost like a book, a dedication for King Paimon. And there's a beautiful story inside the book that I did speak in some of the recordings. There is, of course, different elements, different reflection when it comes to a book, and there are different thematics that are all important that one can talk. There's always, they say, the image or the word or the translation or the sentence, or the syntax or the lyric if it's a hymn, or the poetic, the poetry if it's poetry. So there is always the different genre between them, And then there is the literary genre, which is different genre, so there is always, different type of books, but of course each book is different, from just by being a new book. So different people like to read different things, and that's the nice thing, to have a lot of selection, a lot of books, and at the same time, as I've said, each book has its own message, its own beauty, its own splendor, its own work. Somebody has worked and wrote it and thought about it, and so on and so forth. And today the focus is not necessarily the book, but it's almost to understand sometimes the exercise gives an example, as we used to say, the book now, but it is like, it's important point to what comes next, So as I say, it is a part of the exercise. There is only like 1, 2, 3, or we already have done one. And the same is with the book too. The first we have, each book you can imagine in 3 parts, 1, 2, 3, And the first one, even if you have a theater or something, you start with the best, It's always like, one is hello, It's the one who, most important, for the story, how the story starts and so on. Then you have the middle part, which is the large content. There is the story itself, If one is to say, the beginning can be as long as one needs to. There is no limit on that. But then comes the middle part, and generally that is larger, and it contains the story. There's a different rhythms that goes to it. And the third part is, it's not conclusion necessarily, depends what one writes. In a literary work, the end is connected to the first, because it's almost to say the end speaks a little bit from the start of the story, of the beginning, and in the same time we can even say 5 parts. one has, of course, one can choose different chapters and so on, but there's still a understructure of the book. It is not necessarily speaking about the chapters themselves. Sometimes one doesn't want chapters. As I said, the way the text is arranged, it is important to know for the work that it is, being poetry, being prosa, or any other genre. But if we go into literary genre, then there's the nuance, the colors. Then you have to choose, no? You say, well, this, that, no? There's like almost to say the middle part. But the main focus is always the story. It's always the book. That's the important part of the words, no? The story that sets the tone. So there is no a certain, say, well, the hymn gives a certain rhythmus to the text. It has different syntax. It works on the syllable, the syllabs, no? It goes, one can, depending how you spell the words, but there's no to say, we have a sentence, the rabbits are, you say, the rabbits are, there's 6, 7, 5, and so on. It does change, and it does leave some freedom, but it does have this shape, this format, this repetition sometimes too as well. Then this is more like hymn form, but even there are different hymns, different styles as well. And then the novels now, which is prosa or stories, or if one has stories together, one can write all as a book. Now it's always to say which material fits to which material, and some books are I wrote like, well, I have different stories that fit very well together, and let me put them in a book, call them stories, no? And that's a certain thematic that it fits very well. So what I want to say is the books are made in different ways. Some books, you write very intensively. It is a more hard work, or more intensive meditative work, or more it takes, the interest is very high. In general, in all books, the interest for me to write them is very high, but it's very, very, how you say, interesting, but it does take me different time periods, no? Depending on the book, depending on the subject, depending on say, well, sometimes the idea comes faster, or sometimes I know how exactly as I want to make it, and then it goes very fast. Sometimes the text is large or something, then I need, of course, more time to write it, more time for the editing, and so on and so forth. But I like poetry and hymn. I started actually with poetry. I like it goes fast. I find it very easy. It's almost like a play with words. It's very entertaining. It's for me easy. I don't know. I think poetry, even it doesn't look easy, one can create poetry, even there are different genres. Of course, it is probably harder to create good poetry, because when you write poetry, it's always a feeling like how to say something almost so like a feeling that still doesn't sound strange in words, something like that, still that it has a nice meaning or understanding, or there's the translation part of the poem, This poem almost is like asks for a translation, or wants to be translated or understood, and there are different ways that one can understand, It's a little like the well, it's not, but there's the haiku, the Japanese, But the poetry too is almost to say a different rhythmus to the story itself. As I said, that the form of the poem, the form of the text is very important, because it gives the style, it gives the meaning, it gives the thematic, it gives the story, the content. It's important to think, if one wants to write, okay, which story, and then what type of elements I need to eat, what nuances I give, what depending on the story itself, So there have been very large poems and hymns. We have the Spanish Celestina, or we have I know in Spain, I've studied, they have a lot of very long, beautiful poems. it's like high art. We know all Don Quixote, no, but that shows the savior of it, how good it was, how long, how beautiful. No, there's a story described and then it is made in this poetic hymn form. That's the original Quixote. No, it was like some way of ballade. It is lyrical. It can be even sung, or it can be spoken with the rhythms. It was easier to remember. As I've said, it is a large text. It can go on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages, no? And it has very nice rhythms to it. That's a part of the text, no? The hymn, it gives some type of tempo. It gives the tam 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 tam, no? Or it goes slower. So there's a certain rhythms to it as well. And there's the rhyme too. The rhythms, no? The syllables, as we said, and they all, as I said, have to be understood, or have to be known, no? To say, well, this is the way I approximately have to write it, and then one is able to write the words, or write the verses, or the lyrics, and so on and so forth. And in the same time, one doesn't work on the words, like which word comes after the next, or which it's almost to say, well, if I have a story, it doesn't matter if it's 10 or 20 pages, I can make it in a book, I can make it in a story, or I can write chapters to it, or there's always look for elements that excite, the title, or okay, which story, or how I can write it, no? And the meaning behind it, it's almost, no, the writer leaves something behind. The writer leaves something for people to enjoy, no? So there's always some type of pleasure, no? That's why the pleasure of reading, because it's something beautiful, written, put together for others to enjoy, and it is very entertaining, no? For people who like to read. And if somebody is interested in writing, I recommend that it starts with the title, no? And then if the story excites you, then it's a good sign. It shows, yes, you should write it. And then you put together the text. You think if you want chapters or not, or the story. Is it prosa? Is it poetic? And then, then you can write. And then have the courage to write more, and then enough pages that you can put it in a book. You can write the title of the book. You can choose your name or artistic name, and the book, now it is, so to say, for you then to decide if you want to publish or not, or keep, or just enjoy writing or reading. It is always different for each person, but for me, writing it has been like a very positive activity, and I really like my stories and the books. And King Paimon is very, very large book somehow, no? I'm proud of it for the size of it, for the subject. And I decided to make the playlist where I talk about the book and different exercises as well. And the exercise with the mirror has been like very interesting as well. With the there's always say if you start with one exercise, is exercise number 2, exercise number 3. No one, of course, can always continue. And in the same time, I remember the message of the mirror, of the first mirror, is always to say, when you get confused or something, go to the first mirror, no? Go to the first idea. That's the meaning of always listen to your first instinct or your first feeling, no? And the mirror exercise, no? It is quite interesting. For me, it has been always that sometimes I like mirrors, sometimes I don't. There's always a different thing, but I do like different shapes or sizes, or how you say, the glass is material, or the shyness of things, no? And it's always of course, with glass one has to be careful not to cut and so on. But I do enjoy the reflections, or the things, or the colors, or things, that almost to say makes one wonder, or numbers, or the symbolistic between things, and so on and so forth. So there's always the element of color that comes into it as well. Of course, there's the element of numbers, or different objects, or different images, or different going more on the visual side, no? And if one writes poetry, of course the sound of the words or the vocals are important as well. So there is to say the vocals have to fit with the vocals, and the consonant too have to fit with the consonant. No, there is a certain friction in the word that the sentences come out, or the sound of the sentence in lyric form, how it sounds when it is said out loud, or how it sounds if you clap your hands. There's always this element. The other beautiful thing, I could say that the element of mirror does appear. As I said, I spoke a lot in the case of Paimon about the mirror, or regarding Paimon and the book, and I did write another book that is connected to a mirror with a different meaning as well. So there are different stories, and so on and so forth. But I really like the description of King Paimon, with the desert, with the sand, with the mirror, this element. I think it came through quite in the beginning. It was very beautiful, and the meaning behind it, the story behind it, that's the beautiful part. And it is a hymn form, so it is like a hymn that starts from the first page and goes, as I said, through story-like parts, but there are no chapters. It's simply the words that is the hymn form. There is element of beauty. That's why it can go on larger pages as well, because there's the rhythmus, there's the tempo, there's always the element of new, that one can read it like that, and even if it's not a ballad, but it has this element of the hymn, That's how I wanted to create it in the hymn form. The sentences will not have fit. It will have been not the same quality, so I had to do extra work and extra care to have it in the hymn form. And there are different elements. Of course, the punctuation is very important in the text. If it's a point, if it's a comma, or like the syntax as well, of course. And one in the same time can write, and say, don't think so much of the syntax when you write. The important is the story. That's how I do it. I focus on the story to get my text, and then the editing part, it's more calm, and one can correct. Anyway, one has to read the text over and over to edit, to correct it, and then one can go on the punctuation, syntax, to look if there are mistakes. But the main part is, of course, always to gather the material and to write the story or the book. If somebody likes to read or write, in general, if somebody likes to read, they can write as well. They can get inspired later in their life, or any time in their life. There's a beautiful element of writing that it's almost to say one has to think of their own writing way, of enjoyment, that they are able or enjoy writing. Is not a must, but for me it was like, I like to write in pen, but I cannot write many stories, or fast, and or one can typewrite, or one can type it in the computer. One can put it on the words. I say any place I can write if I have my phone, or I have a piece of paper, or sometimes ideas come, and then one can develop and create a story, or create a poem. And it doesn't matter to say where you write. Important is to collect material and say, I start with a few poetry, and it doesn't matter, you can still write more, or later you start to write something else. and then it builds up, no? You have the material, then you can put them in a book, and then one can publish as well, which is a beautiful thing. No one can share this with others, and I think books are a beautiful thing. I discovered books a little bit later. Well, first I discovered them at school. I didn't really, it was more like about learning, but the books, or to have a little library at home, I think it's important. I think everyone should read, of course, and should have books and should enjoy reading, and important too to know which genre no one likes, and then one can change, of course, too, as well. It's always a choice which book, but the genre or the stories for me is not so much important. For me, it's more important that because I like to write different things, I don't fixate myself on a genre, but I do know which genre I'm writing, which genre is the book. No, I do create the elements that is needed for the genre, but I don't focus on the genre. I focus on the story. The story is the main character, to say, no, the story itself. And there are always different ways. I said the best way is to find your own way and to write in the way you like it. In the editing, you can arrange the text as well as you like it. There's a little bit of learning the page count and how to edit a little bit, correcting the mistakes, arranging the manuscript, but it is not very hard. And but the editorial part is important, how you arrange, to make it look as a book, to make it, of course, good to read, easy to read for the people. Or, you have the page, you have the arrangement, that there are no mistakes and so on and so forth. But it's a pleasurable work, because almost like you're polishing your work, and then, it's almost ready to publish or to be ready as a book. And I enjoy very much the covers of the books. I'm a very visual person, so I like covers. When I see covers that attract me or something beautiful like that, I do like. And I like to go libraries. I love to look at books, and I think books are really, as I said, very different ones, very different covers, very different texts, and very different subjects, but this also said the selection is the positive thing. And I don't think it's hard to write. I think it's almost hard to a little bit, to think that you can, or push a little through until you really see it as, yes, I do write. And if it happened that you wrote a few times in your life, it's necessarily, but as I've said, normally it means that you have this gift to write, and the way, to say, well, it's of course a little bit always about the text. Now I say, well, if I have to write the book, I need the text, and it's my way, of course, to learn how to arrange the text, how to able to work with it. That it is a requirement, of course. The book King Paimon, or the subject, it has been always a very interesting aspect, as I said, of the story, of the text. So there is almost like number one. The number two is always the story, and the main part, is the book, as I said, the story or the stories, and number three is the cover or the editing part of how the book looks. But the focus is always, of course, the story inside, and the different elements that one can find in a story as well. As I've said, it always depends on the thematic, on the subject, what story, what genre, what type of text, what type of lyric, or if it's prose, or if it's this or that. So there's a wide range for the writer as well, to try if someone wants, or they want, or a writer wants to develop further on. No, of course, different genre requires different skills or different tasks. No, but it doesn't matter, because a writer is a writer. No, the genre itself, it doesn't matter, because a writer is a writer. No, so the genre is important, but the writer is the one who writes, not the one who makes it. And the different elements and the different work that one puts in a book, as I've said, it is not necessarily easy, and that's the value of a book as well, even if the value is not necessarily, of course, not in money, no. Even if, no, so well, it depends, no, depends on the story, or depends on the book, but I like the old style books, or the decoration books, or things how they decorated books in the past, no, very decorative, very beautiful. I like books like that as well. And as I said, there are many people who love books, and I'm definitely one of them. And thank you so much for listening. Going to continue another time, and hopefully next recording I'm going to speak more about King Paimon himself. If you're interested to buy the book, or to buy any of my books, you can buy them on Amazon. You have the name, my name you can put, or you find it in the list, or you can write King Paimon. The title is in the recording as well, how the cover looks, and there's always, how you say, different parts of the story, or different chapters, and next time I'm going to continue with another recording. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye.